Today we are going to learn some basic stitches in knitting so that you can get started on your projects. First of all, this is yarn. This is just a ball of yarn, and these are my needles. We are going to learn how to create a slip knot and how to cast on, and then finally knit towards the end of this video. First of all, let's start with our slip knot. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn and use my 2 fingers, and I'm going to wrap it very loosely around my yarn. You can see I've kind of crossed it here. When I cross it, I just put my fingers through and I just grab that back yarn and hold on to it and just pull it through the loop. Okay, let's try that again. I go around my fingers and it crosses. I take my finger out and I just go in and I grab that yarn and I pull it through. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about casting on. I'm going to put my slip knot onto my needle. I want it to be snug, but I still want to be able to move it. I want to have it a little bit loose on there. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the yarn in my hand, and so I can give it just kind of go like this with your fingers. You're just grabbing it. I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to say go over the top and around, and now we go through. That is my first cast on stitch. Over the top, around, and through. Over the top, and round, and through. Over the top, around, and through. So you just wind the yarn around your thumb and then you go through. And I'm catching that loop. It's very easy to work with and a very easy stitch. You just go around, up and through, around and through, around and through. I'm going to see if I have 10 stitches. I first count my original slip-on stitch, and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11 stitches, and I don't need that 11th one for this project. We're just going to do a very quick video. Now we're going to learn how to knit. The first thing I do is I take my stitches that have been slipped on or casted onto my needle, and I move it to my left hand. Then I go and I take my empty needle and I go through this loop. You can see there's like a loop right next to my needle. So I'm going to slip it through, and I'm just going to pick up my yarn in my hand and I'm going to cast it in between the 2 of them. Now I'm going to take my needles and I'm going to slide it through and grab that yarn, and then I will slide it off my needle. Okay, let's go to our next stitch. I put it through the loop, I go behind my needle. Now in between my needles I put my yarn and I just hold on to my yarn and my needle at the same time, and I pull it through. Up through the loop, through my 2 needles, and through. This first row is going to be the most difficult, but after you get this first row done, it's so much easier. There we go. I always find that loop that's next to my needle, push it up through, put my needle behind, put my yarn in between them, and then pull it through. One of the tricks to keeping the loop or the yarn on your needle is to keep your needles kind of close to each other. They kind of rub next to each other. I also keep my hand on my cast on stitches here so that I don't, whoops, so they don't go sliding off my needle, and that happens. When I get to the end of this row, what I mean by that is I've started from this side and I go to that side. That is called a row. I switch my needles around. I put my needle with the stitches on it, and now I'm using my empty needle and I'm going to make my stitches go onto that needle, and I just do the same thing. It's the same thing. I find that hole that's right next to my needle that my yarn has created, and I just put my yarn in between and I pull that loop. Just go like this. And I just put that yarn and I just slide it through. We're almost done. There we go. And that's the end of my second row. You can tell that my knitting is going to be about this wide, and it will be long when I get done with this project. Enjoy knitting!